Yes, I would like to begin this spontaneous discussion, and I'm very honored to also be together with Mei Yi and Dr. Tazli as well. Um, if we old enough to remember, back in 1980s, there was a sitcom on television known as Small Wonder. And Small Wonder is about a robot that is being taken home in order to teach the robot to become more human. So the whole idea about Vicki, which is the robot girl, is to help the robot to become more human so that it will be more useful. But now, in the past many years, I have seen our direction is somehow going to the opposite of what happened in Small Wonder. We are now change humans into robot. We are human, but we try to compete with robot, and we already know that robots are doing many things even better than us. So in order to stop competing with robots, we should stop being robots. So that is already something that we always have in our mind. Talking about reform in education, I would say that at least in our institution, in Khalifa Education Foundation, before we decided to establish, especially the secondary school in 2013, the problem statement that we had back in our mind is the worrying of seeing students finding their schooling experience more and more meaningless. They lost motivation. They don't find what are being presented to them relevant and useful to them, and we need to use a lot of enforcement to make them stay engaged. And that is why we try to investigate a little bit more and see where the room of improvement can happen. So when we talk about change, kind of allow me to quote something that came from the tradition of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Of course, for Muslims audience, it can be seen as a religious text, but in a more universal way of seeing it, it is a documentation on how learning occurred in the 7th century. It was at that time when Muhammad himself, who loved to be introduced as a teacher, he had a group of teenagers came to him and stayed with him for 20 nights to learn, a lot of things from him. And the narrator was Malik bin al-Huwairith. So Malik bin al-Huwairith said, after 20 nights spending time with Prophet Muhammad, he concluded that Muhammad is a very kind and merciful. That is what it said in the narration from Sahih al-Bukhari. And then after 20 nights, Prophet Muhammad realized that these students, quote unquote, these learners were start losing their focus and thinking about something else, and mainly about their family. So he asked them, who were you thinking about? Share with me. And then the students, Malik bin al-Huwairith and his friends said, well, we were thinking about so and so, so and so. So they told about what bothered them in their mind. So after listening to what these students said to him, Prophet Muhammad said, therefore, return home and just return home and do whatever you learn with me now. Go home and do that at home. And then he said, when the time for prayer come, so one of you should make the call of the prayer, the azan, and then the eldest among you should lead the prayer. So it was a very short narration, but um, I read about that narration, I think maybe about 20 years ago. But after learning more about learning sciences, I saw a lot of silent pedagogy inside the narration that came from the 7th century. I mean, at first, the student made a statement saying that the teacher is kind and merciful, meaning that the mercifulness of the teacher is visible and understood by the teacher. Sometimes we claim that we actually love our students, but in a way that our students do not understand, or even understood it wrongly, or understood the opposite way. That is the first thing. And then the second thing, it was something interesting when the teacher, Prophet Muhammad, paid enough attention to identify that the students lost their focus. And then he had the courage to ask about it. What bothered you? So when he asked what bothered you, we see from the narration how there was a strong trust between the teacher and the students, for the students to share their personal struggle. They say, okay, we were thinking about so and so. So when the students were talking about their emotional struggle at that time, Muhammad as a teacher did not belittle the students. Oh, how are you going to become leader in the future after 20 nights not seeing your family? Now you come on, chin up, man up. There's nothing like that. The struggle that the students have thinking about their family, and we should understand that these students are not small kids, because the actual term that being used in the Arabic text of the narration is shababah mutaqaribun, meaning that they are teenagers. They are youth, maybe like Dr. Tazli's students at the university. So when they were thinking about the family, the teacher acknowledged about the emotional struggle. And what did he do? He did not force them to be more patient and to finish whatever left in the curriculum. He said, okay, since you are already no longer here because you are thinking about your family, there is no point for us to continue with this setting. So please go home and demonstrate what you learned with me all these past 20 days. But Muhammad gave some guidance to the students. When you go home, who should call the prayer, and what is the guideline for the one who is going to lead the prayer? So there is an empowerment. He gave responsibility for the student to take charge of their learning. So this is one quick example. I hope I'm not taking too much time. I want to listen more from other panels, even more. But my point is, in the 7th century, it has been understood from this narration that um, learning or education is built upon relationship. When there is no relationship, there is no teaching and learning. Unless we got stuck in the paradigm of functionalism, of perceiving school as the national institution to create a group of workers serving industrial revolution. And I believe that that paradigm is obsolete. Either school or even at university level, it is no longer a place where we want to produce workers. We need to rehumanize. And therefore, talking about change, it is not something new for us. Even before COVID-19, we were already engaged in a lot of discussion around this topic, because we believe that we need to change. And now it is no longer an option. Everyone need to come on board and be together to make the change happen. So that will be my first response to the question that you said just now. Thank you.